15 June 1944, occupied France. The night air hangs heavy over a patchwork of fields and hedgerows somewhere south of Paris. A lone aircraft passes overhead, its engines fading into the darkness before silence returns. Then a parachute blossoms against the moonlit sky. Suspended beneath it is not a heavily armed soldier, not a senior general, and not a famous politician. It is a woman carrying a wireless set, coded messages, false identity papers, and a mission so dangerous that survival is measured in days rather than months. As she lands, she gathers her parachute and disappears into the countryside. German patrols are everywhere. Roadblocks choke the villages. Informers work for money, fear, or ideology. The occupying authorities have spent years constructing a vast security network designed to crush resistance before it can grow. Yet somewhere in this darkness, resistance fighters wait for instructions. Trains carrying German supplies must be sabotaged. Bridges must be surveyed. Intelligence must reach London. Every movement of German armor could influence the outcome of the war unfolding across Europe. The woman moves carefully through the shadows. If captured, she cannot expect the protections normally granted to uniformed soldiers. Her weapon is information. Her battlefield is secrecy. Her success depends upon remaining invisible. Yet, despite the immense danger, hundreds of women across occupied Europe choose exactly this path. Some become couriers, carrying messages through enemy territory. Others organize escape networks, transport weapons, coordinate sabotage missions, or operate clandestine radios that German direction-finding teams relentlessly hunt. To Nazi authorities, these women present a unique challenge. They do not fit the enemy image that German planners expect. They appear in cafes, railway stations, market squares, and city streets. They blend into civilian life while carrying secrets capable of altering military operations. Some become so effective that German security reports mention them repeatedly. Their photographs circulate among occupation forces. Rewards are offered for information leading to their capture. The popular image of the Second World War often focuses on tanks, aircraft, battleships, and famous generals. Yet, hidden behind these enormous machines of war is another struggle fought by individuals whose courage cannot be measured in tons of steel or kilometers of range. Among the most remarkable participants are the women who infiltrate occupied territories, organize resistance movements, gather intelligence, and challenge one of the most ruthless security systems in modern history. Their story matters because it demonstrates how determination, intelligence, and resilience can become weapons every bit as powerful as guns and bombs. By 1940, much of Europe has fallen under German control. France collapses in weeks. Belgium and the Netherlands are occupied. Norway is conquered. Across the continent, Nazi authorities established an extensive military administration, police surveillance, censorship, and repression. Resistance movements emerge almost immediately, but they face overwhelming obstacles. The German occupation machine is designed to prevent organized opposition. Railway networks are monitored. Telephone communications are intercepted. Postal systems are examined. Informers operate within towns and villages. The Gestapo and other security organizations possess extensive powers to arrest suspects and conduct investigations. Any resistance group discovered risks imprisonment, torture, deportation, or execution. Britain faces a particular problem. Information from occupied Europe is desperately needed. Military planners require intelligence about troop movements, coastal defenses, industrial production, and transportation networks. Resistance groups need supplies, training, and communication with Allied command. Conventional military methods cannot solve these problems. Aircraft can bomb targets, but they cannot easily build underground networks. Armored divisions cannot operate inside occupied cities. Intelligence gathered from aerial photography remains limited without human sources on the ground. The challenge grows even greater after Germany invades the Soviet Union in 1941. The conflict expands dramatically. Millions of soldiers fight across enormous fronts stretching thousands of kilometers. Decisions made in London, Moscow, Berlin, and Washington increasingly depend on accurate information from territories controlled by the enemy. Existing intelligence methods prove insufficient. Wireless communication is dangerous because German direction finding technology can locate transmitters. Couriers risk capture at checkpoints. Secret meetings can be betrayed. Resistance organizations are frequently infiltrated. Some networks are destroyed entirely. Others survive only through constant adaptation. At the same time, social assumptions create unexpected opportunities. German authorities often underestimate women involved in resistance activities. This does not mean women avoid suspicion entirely. Many are arrested, interrogated, and executed. Nevertheless, occupation forces frequently focus their attention on men of military age. Women can sometimes travel with less scrutiny, making them invaluable as couriers and organizers. The need for skilled female operatives becomes increasingly obvious. Allied planners require people capable of operating independently under immense pressure. They need linguists, radio operators, intelligence collectors, and organizers willing to work deep behind enemy lines. The mission appears nearly impossible. Operatives must enter occupied territories, establish contacts, avoid detection, transmit intelligence, and survive long enough to remain effective. Many do not. Yet, despite the risks, volunteers continue to come forward. Some are motivated by patriotism. Others seek revenge for occupied homelands or persecuted families. Many simply refuse to accept Nazi domination. Their willingness to act creates one of the most remarkable chapters of the war. The organization most closely associated with these missions is the Special Operations Executive, established by Britain in July 1940. Its purpose is straightforward but ambitious: support resistance movements and conduct sabotage against Axis forces. Prime Minister Churchill famously encourages the organization to set Europe ablaze. SOE developed a sophisticated system for recruiting and training agents. Candidates learn cryptography, surveillance awareness, unarmed combat, weapons handling, map reading, and wireless operation. Training facilities across Britain prepare operatives for conditions they will face in occupied territory. Every detail matters. A misplaced accent, incorrect identity document, or suspicious behavior could prove fatal. Among the organization's most valuable assets are female agents. Women such as Noor Inayat Khan, Violet Sabo, Odette Sampson, Pearl Witherington, and many others undertake missions of extraordinary difficulty. Their effectiveness stems not from a single technological breakthrough, but from a combination of specialized training, communication systems, forged documentation, and clandestine tradecraft. Consider the wireless sets many agents carry. Early wartime radios are far from compact. Some weigh roughly 14 kilograms, equivalent to carrying a large suitcase packed with metal components. Operators assemble aerial wires, tune frequencies, encode messages, and transmit information while racing against time. German detection teams can sometimes identify a transmission source within minutes. Operating a radio becomes a deadly contest of speed and precision. Messages themselves require encryption. Codes transform ordinary language into groups of letters and numbers. The process resembles locking information inside a series of nested boxes. Even if German operators intercept a transmission, they still must decipher its contents. Security procedures evolve constantly because compromised codes can destroy entire networks. False identity papers represent another critical innovation. Skilled forgers reproduce stamps, signatures, permits, and travel documents with astonishing accuracy. A resistance courier might carry multiple identities, each tailored to different circumstances. Success depends upon making every document appear ordinary. The less attention it attracts, the better. Manufacturing these tools involves countless individuals. Printers produce forged papers, engineers build wireless equipment, textile workers conceal compartments inside clothing. Weapons are manufactured in British factories before being dropped by parachute into occupied territories. Exact production figures remain difficult to establish because wartime secrecy obscures many records, but thousands of specialized devices and supplies flow through resistance networks. If you are finding this interesting, a quick subscribe helps more than you know. The women themselves become the most important component of the system. Technology alone cannot build trust with resistance groups or gather intelligence from local populations. Human judgment remains essential. Operatives must decide whom to trust, when to move, and how to respond when plans collapse. Noor Inayat Khan provides a remarkable example. Born in Moscow and raised partly in France, she joins the Women's Auxiliary Air Force before volunteering for SOE. In 1943, she enters occupied France as a wireless operator. The role is considered among the most dangerous in the organization. Many radio operators survive only a few weeks. Yet, she continues transmitting after much of her network has been compromised. German authorities pursue her relentlessly because she represents a vital link between resistance fighters and London. Violet Sabo demonstrates another dimension of resistance work. Fluent in French and highly capable under pressure, she undertakes missions involving coordination with resistance groups. Her courage becomes legendary. Captured after fierce resistance against German forces, she ultimately pays with her life. Pearl Witherington achieves extraordinary success organizing resistance fighters. Following the Normandy landings, networks under her influence conduct sabotage operations that disrupt German transportation and communications. At one stage, she effectively helps coordinate thousands of resistance members. Operational use of these networks reaches its peak during preparations for D-Day. Resistance groups receive instructions to damage railway lines, attack communication systems, and hinder German reinforcements. Across occupied Europe, women serve as couriers, organizers, intelligence collectors, and radio operators. Their activities contribute to a broader Allied effort designed to isolate battlefields and complicate German responses. Atmospheric accounts from surviving participants describe tense journeys through occupied cities, secret meetings in farmhouses, hurried radio transmissions from attics, and narrow escapes from arrest. Some stories are documented in detail. Others remain fragmentary because records were destroyed, classified, or never created in the first place. The psychological impact on German authorities is significant. Security forces understand that resistance networks exist, but often struggle to identify their full extent. The possibility that seemingly ordinary civilians might be working for the enemy creates uncertainty and suspicion. Every failed arrest raises concerns about hidden operatives still at large. Compared with German intelligence efforts, Allied resistance networks display remarkable flexibility. German security organizations possess greater resources, larger bureaucracies, and extensive police powers. However, their size sometimes reduces agility. Resistance groups operate through smaller cells, designed to limit damage if members are captured. American organizations such as the Office of Strategic Services also deploy agents and support resistance activities. Cooperation between British and American services increases as the war progresses. Nevertheless, the British SOE develops particularly extensive experience operating within occupied Europe. Its methods influence later intelligence and special operations organizations across the world. German authorities attempt similar clandestine operations, but conditions differ significantly. In territories controlled by the Allies, Axis agents face hostile populations, language barriers, and increasingly effective counterintelligence systems. Meanwhile, Allied operatives often benefit from local resistance networks willing to provide shelter, information, and logistical support. What makes many female agents especially effective is not superior equipment or greater firepower. Rather, it is their ability to exploit assumptions, build relationships, and move through environments where overt military force cannot function. Their strength lies in adaptability. A radio set weighing several kilograms can transmit information, but only a skilled operator can decide when and where to use it. Assessing the overall impact of these women requires careful balance. It would be inaccurate to claim that they alone determine the outcome of the war. Massive military campaigns, industrial production, and strategic decisions ultimately shape victory. Yet, it would be equally inaccurate to dismiss their contributions as merely symbolic. Resistance intelligence assists Allied planners. Sabotage operations delay German movements. Escape networks save lives. Communication links help coordinate activities across occupied territories. Quantifying these effects precisely remains difficult because intelligence successes often leave limited documentation. Historians continue debating to what extent specific operations altered larger events. Their psychological impact may be even harder to measure.
Stories of courageous resistance challenge the image of Nazi invincibility. They provide hope to occupied populations and demonstrate that opposition remains possible despite overwhelming odds. The existence of active networks forces German authorities to divert resources toward security operations rather than frontline combat. Today, surviving artifacts and memorials preserve their legacy. Museums in Britain and across Europe display wireless sets, forged documents, personal belongings, and photographs. Memorials honor agents who never returned. Archives continue revealing new details as historians examine wartime records. The influence of these women extends beyond the Second World War. Modern intelligence services, special operations units, and resistance studies all draw lessons from their experiences. Their stories remind us that warfare is not solely a contest of machines. It is also a contest of human determination. Return now to that moonlit field in occupied France. The parachute settles onto the ground. A woman gathers her equipment and disappears into the darkness. She possesses no tank battalion, no fighter squadron, no battleship waits offshore. By conventional measures, she appears insignificant. Yet, appearances are deceptive. Within her satchel lies a radio capable of connecting occupied Europe to London. In her memory are codes that transform information into intelligence. In her pocket are forged documents that allow her to move through enemy territory. Most importantly, within her is a determination to continue despite dangers that would force many others to retreat. The Nazis fear armies. They fear bombers. They fear invasion fleets. But they also fear something less visible. They fear individuals who refuse to surrender. They fear networks they cannot fully destroy. They fear information they cannot completely control. Again and again, women across occupied Europe prove that courage does not require rank, size, or physical strength. They carry messages. They organize resistance. They gather intelligence. They endure imprisonment. Many survive, many do not. Their battlefield is hidden. Their victories are often invisible. Their sacrifices are sometimes known only through fragments of testimony and scattered documents, yet their impact echoes through history. They crossed borders, they crossed checkpoints, they crossed lines of fear, and in doing so, they became something the Nazi regime never expected. Not merely witnesses to history, but women who helped change it.